This is a Tropic Pianist Gamers podcast, episode 80, Redefining the Numbers, Confidence Beyond Dyslexia. Today I'm welcoming my guest Danielle. Hi Danielle, would you like to introduce yourself properly?
Yeah, hi Jen. So I'm Danielle Beardmore-Easson. I am a director of our own co-founding law business, Law Clinic, and I'm also an ambassador and partner for a network marketing companies as well. And with myself, I've been challenged with dyslexia all my life, and was diagnosed lately. And it's also compounded with my the experience that I have from being in the corporate world to actually now being self-employed and freedom in a freedom-based life.
So you say you were diagnosed quite late on.
Yes.
What were your experiences growing up then?
So I was diagnosed when I was 23. And the reason why I was diagnosed, which is quite amusing, is the fact that I was actually working in a bank. So I was working for HSBC. I was cashiering, and not all the time, but there was anomalies showing up. So it wasn't a case of that I was getting it wrong all the time, but it was just some of the time. And they said, by any chance, are you dyslexic, or is there anything in that? I said, well, in my school life, it was kind of in primary school, they said I wasn't. I was, sorry. Primary school, they thought I was. I got to high school, they said I wasn't. I got to university without any assistance, without any support um through high school, college, even at university. And then it was at that point I actually left university because I'm not an academic myself, and now I understand why. And yeah, I was diagnosed at 23, and it is in the realms of, which is even more amusing, I would say, in the fact that it's processing and numbers, hence why we're talking about
Yeah, so the numbers
definition.
bit in working
Mm.
in a bank, how did that work?
Well, what happened as a result of that is I got re-signposted. So from instead of cashiering, there was a branch opened in Wigan, one of the new style HSBC branches. So I got moved from that to being on the sales floor, which is my forte. I'm very customer focused and
Just talking to people basically, not
pretty
doing the
much,
calculations.
pretty much. So it's like talking to people, helping them, getting them in the right direction to what problems that they need to be solved and everything like that. So yeah, it actually worked really well. And I was there for about 4 years, but banking wasn't for me. And I did a few other bits and pieces, but I think by the time I got to what like 20, like mid 20s, it's like I knew I needed at some point I was going to go into like running my own business, because I had done a spell of that with my mum prior to working for the bank for HSBC. And yeah, it was interesting in that sense that yeah, I knew that it wasn't for me, like traditional employment. Having said that, I have had a couple of spells after, because my if I go a little bit back with my childhood was great, in the sense of I was very supported by my mum and my stepfather and everything like that. But my mum and stepfather both passed away quite. I was 29 by the time they both passed away, and so I did about 2 years caring for my mum. So then I did go back into employment and started temping again, and end up at a payroll support software support company, and did a couple of years in payroll.
So I've got a question. Let's wind back to school.
Mm,
If people thought you were dyslexic at school and then didn't at secondary school,
mm.
how did you manage to get through school without the support?
I think it's just resilience. I just got on with it. I had a lot of support from my parents.
Mm.
I didn't do so when you choose your options, I didn't take the usual route. So I did health and social care as a GMVQ. So it wasn't a lot of exam based.
Yeah.
So it was only a small portion. So I did better in vocational subjects, so to speak. So that's how I got through where I needed to be and got my points, and I actually got more than I needed to, because I went into hospitality management. Um, but yeah, I don't know is the answer to that. I think I just got through with it and just got on with it. I did have help, like writing assignments would have been one that I did struggle with quite a lot, being dyslexic. Now we know that I was dyslexic, so I was very lucky in the fact that I suppose I dictate. This is one thing I do remember. Bearing in mind, my stepfather was very successful in business. He was an MD of a manufacturing construction company, so he had a lot on, but there was always time for myself. So he would, and bearing in mind he couldn't type very well either. He'd type with like two fingers on the keyboard, so he wouldn't like touch type like I can or anybody else can. But he would sit and type it while I spoke it. So he'd
Mm.
like I dictate. So that yeah, we did that, but that was more in coursework. It wasn't like day-to-day life. But yeah, I suppose I found it difficult, and I suppose like now I think back when when you're writing across, like when you're copying down from the book, the whiteboard or the blackboard.
Yeah.
um yeah, I wasn't great, and my handwriting's not fantastic, put it that way, I'd say.
But yeah, the dyslexic having to dictate, I was the note-taking scribe for exams, so I'd be
Hmm.
writing assignments by hand for people who were dyslexic and couldn't
Yeah.
write. And I was saying yesterday to a piano student's mum, I got a purple knuckle once because I had to write 30 A4 pages in 3 hours for a law student. He
Oh,
was severely dyslexic, so he needed the help. But I couldn't ever do that again.
and
That
was that an exam that you did?
Yeah, it was within the
Exam.
university, so it was degree level,
Yeah.
and it was I think it was his probably his final exam. It was
Wow.
definitely in third year anyway. But yeah,
Yeah, that
that
yeah,
was the type of job that I used to do before I was a piano teacher.
I don't envy you because I like I say I do even now I struggle with like webinars and stuff like that. I am one that would need a recording because
Mm,
I'd rather listen and make like bullet point notes and then go back and get a recording to write to fill in the blanks, so to speak. So that's the way I generally work. So I'm not the best in being given information to recall it. I mean,
yeah,
for example, this morning I was speaking to one of my mentors one of the lines of business that I do, and he he was like, because I mentioned about being neurodiverse, and he went, "How so?" And I was saying, "I'm dyslexic." Now, bearing in mind, I've worked with David for it'd be 3 months solidly now, but I've known him for about 2 years. I've known him more than 2 years actually, but worked with him kind of and on and off for 2 years now. And he's like, and mentioned it, and like you say, I've never mentioned it to him before. And he's like, "Oh, how so?" And I mentioned it and said how I was diagnosed and what it is, and that I do struggle with recalling information. Hence, I will ask the question maybe 2 or 3 times, or to be repeated. And it was like, no, that makes sense. But ask me to do something like this and talk or do a presentation, I'm fine. So
yeah,
hence why a vocational subject for me at school in form of like health and social care, because I did it at GCSE and an A level, if you
yeah,
like. I did it on both levels because it was a combined double subject as well. So it's, you get the double points, don't you, as well for going into
yeah.
university. But yeah,
So
so
it's
that's,
great that you're able to tune into your strengths at an earlier age there.
but I don't think it's weird how I didn't notice it myself. And
Yeah.
my parents didn't notice it that much. So I don't know whether I was very good at masking it, maybe. I
Mm.
don't know. Or
That's one of the
or
questions that'll always be a mystery, won't it?
or am I good at coping with things, which I am quite resilient as a person anyway.
Yeah.
So and with the life that I've had to deal with
Mm.
as I've gone through, I've had to be resilient, obviously losing parents and stuff like that,
Yeah.
getting divorced. So I think that's always been in me from, so don't get me wrong, I do have my moments where I'm like, I need to speak to somebody and I melt down completely, but I think it's made me more resilient than I think.
Yeah. So you're able to thrive despite dyslexia, and that's
Hmm.
that's great to see. You
Yeah.
run a successful business or businesses, is it?
Yeah, there's a couple. We have Law Clinic, which was founded 2 years. Well, we found, I don't think we didn't go live until July 2024. And that's when it all went live. But I know about this time in 2024, this is when we started like planning it all and doing everything like that. So yeah, it was a concept that myself and my husband came up with. And it's bridging the gap between citizen advice and a traditional law firm. We deal with pre legal action work, so we don't take it beyond the court stage, but James can advise and make it accessible um, for anybody and guide people. And as well, some people don't want to, they want to do it themselves, they just need a bit of guidance, and that's absolutely okay. And that's
Yeah.
where it comes on hand to do that. Having said that, it's me that does all the background work. So James will deal with the clients because only James can. But myself, it's like the background, the admin, which is funny enough because I do all the invoicing, I do everything like that, which is it's a strange one really considering what I process, and it does come up from time to time. Don't get me wrong, it's not I'm not perfect, I'm not clear. Anybody that gets, I think, in the network or yourself, they'll get a text message from me. Sometimes it's not absolutely grammatically correct because I'll
Yeah.
just be typing or I'll send it before I mean to, but I think that's everybody for
People are a lot more tolerant of things now. They understand better as opposed to in the 90s, for example. But for example, me, I'm not dyslexic at all, and my worst personal habit is correcting people's spellings. But I've learned to respect that people are dyslexic, and they don't
yeah.
always. Some people actually get offended if you correct their spellings. So I've learned that the hard way, but I now know not to correct people's spellings unless they want to be corrected. And it's
I don't mind
important
it.
that.
I don't mind it. And I'll tell you the reason why, but this is something that I had to learn even 2 years ago was obviously having a little business, it has to be spot on. So if it's like my social DMs, I'm not that bothered about them because
Yeah,
people know me. But if it's business wise, then yeah, I know I have to check myself a bit more. And obviously, I've got James. James will say, and this is not this is no dig at him or anything like that. He'll say, "Can you have a look at that again?" Or
yeah,
just make sure you double check it because obviously it's the the reputation of the company as well. So I
yeah,
do. You still have to work on it and still have to
yeah.
be mindful.
It's about asking for help where it's needed, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but we've also got the dynamic of we're husband and wife, and we work
Yeah.
together constantly, and that can be an interesting dynamic, and
Well,
not
yeah.
learning and
We work
learning.
as a team as well, so if I need something checking for context or like the way it comes across, that's
Yeah,
where my husband will check it and he might
yeah,
rephrase bits for me if they don't sound quite how I want them to.
yeah. I'm the same with James. I mean, James writes with what he does anyway. It comes across, but he writes very, very well. So it's
Mm,
something that I'm like, oh, it might be sometimes a case of somebody will come in. We both have access to the email system because it is a smaller business. So we have access across the board, and we're both directors as well. So it doesn't matter who sends what. But occasionally I say, "Do you want me to respond to that for you?" I'm like, "Yeah, go on," because it saves me having to type it, maybe run it through ChatGPT to like not write it for me, but just check it.
yeah.
When he's doing it, he just does it and he writes it perfectly, and he's great with the way that as a solicitor that he makes it accessible the information for people so
Mm,
they understand it straight off. So it's
yeah.
not jargonated, he just makes it so it's yeah, so like it's just reading normally. It's not because I know a lot of solicitors will like put all the jargon in and make it so complex and have about 20 pages long. James is not like that. So for me as well, it helps me to summarize it as well. And what I'm writing, I don't need to overcompensate and think, oh, it needs to be anything needs to be longer than it needs to be.
Okay. So yeah, great teamwork. That's how it
Mm,
should be.
definitely
Yeah.
teamwork. Don't get me wrong, we do have our disagreements, as everybody does.
Like all
But that's in
couples,
bit.
yeah.
But that's in business as well, because you have ideas, and I'll know I'll have my vision, and he'll have his. And then it's meeting in the middle, saying, right, okay,
Yeah.
that's what it is. But yeah, we do generally work together, and we're just going on another venture together that's going to help clients at Lawn Clinic as well. So yeah, be great.
Okay. So speaking of business, how do you
Mhm.
actually help other people?
How do I help other people? I
Yeah.
can do it in two ways. I mean, I have a love of law's not my first forte, so that's James's. So, but my love is actually helping people by create helping them to create their own business. So, as we connected a while back through Nicola's like network and the business buddy system, we both realized that we in the network we're in the network marketing world. So
Yeah.
I can help people with that. And I have two, we've taken two avenues. One is my love of travel. So I'm a lifestyle ambassador for a travel and lifestyle platform. And most recently, I work with UW as well because it sits nicely with Law Clinic helping people to save on their, because Law Clinic's all about helping people in general. So whether that
Yeah.
be reduce on legal fees and streamline that, or help them reduce costs. So that's how I can do it. And there's a business element to that. So and I love coaching people. That's my strength, coaching and mentoring people to do that and lead in that leadership role. It comes quite natural to me, and it has to.
Nice. So where can people find you if they want to work with you?
So if it's with me personally, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram majority of the time. So if people look, my handle is I am Danielle BE. And if they're looking for law advice or guidance, it's law-clinic.co.uk.
Okay. Thanks for being my guest today. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation.
Mm-hmm.
All the
I have.
best.
Thank you very much.